Aquaba. Ahoy, everyone. I'm excited because I'm an honorary GSE member from the very beginning. Here's some fun photos from the Ghana Tech Summit. You know, I've represented in every single Haiti Tech Summit from the very beginning. So I'm super excited about what everybody's doing and why we're all here in the community that we're building. And it's truly a global effort. My name is Ryan Foland. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, and a ginger. But you can call me and I go by the name of Brock Quickway Ginger. Still having a hard time pronouncing it, but it's all good. I'm here to be a mentor. I'm here to be your brother. And I'm here to bring a little bit of ginger, a little bit of motivation to your life. Now, ginger, if you're not sure, it's typically referred to as having freckles and red hair. And it's something that as a kid, I was made fun of. But in my adult life, I've taken that back. So I own my freckles and I own being ginger. I'm a little bit crazy. You might have seen me out on the dance floor. It's hard to stop my energy, especially when I'm able to work with so many awesome people. And I do want to share with you something very exciting. If you like this content today and you like my style, I've actually put together a free course which covers ideation to help come up with your business idea, as well as how to validate it and what we're talking about today when it comes to communicating it. And as Christine said, in a really succinct and concise way. So as we kick this thing off here, I'm going to drop in the chat some links if you want to check out more information about me along the way. All right. So we all have a story, and I'm going to spare you the details, but I will share with you that my story has been up and down, from a kid that was made fun of and bullied to someone who really got into martial arts to solve that bullying problem, to high school, to college, thinking I was going to be a film producer, going to Hollywood, realizing that it wouldn't work out, selling mortgages, only to have the whole industry crash on me, falling into construction by just necessity, starting and failing a number of startups, working in higher education, and here today being the speaker that you see. So why am I telling you just a little bit about my story? It's because really the most important thing that you have is your story. And whatever skills, whatever you come to the table with today, if you're looking at pitching investors or you're looking at starting a company, I do not want you to underestimate the power of your story and the superpower of your ability to incorporate your story with your idea. So I would like to get people involved. This is going to be interactive. The chat might blow up. We might have to contact Eric Wan at Zoom and tell him that there are too many chat messages to work. So we might break the system. So I'm going to ask you some questions and I'll have you participate. But I want to ask you the first question about the difference between your experience and your expertise. I repeat, two words, they look similar. The difference is between your experience, what you've gone through, or your expertise, what you can point to and say, this is what I'm an expert at. So my question to you is, what is more important? Why do people invest in you? Why do people pay you money? Why would people hire you? Now, I'm asking you to make a decision of one or the other. You cannot say both, okay? This is a hypothetical situation. Do you think people care more about your experience or your expertise? I want to see you drop that in the chat right now. We've got Ritski from Indonesia. What do you think? Drop it in the chat, either the word experience or expertise. All right, looks like we've got experience. Any other votes? Anybody think that expertise is more important? You know, you hear a lot about being an expert, and everybody seems to chase after to be an expert. Okay, experience, expertise, expertise in the job market, experience in the job market. Marie, you can't answer both of them because I want you to make a decision. So think on your answer, and I'm going to give you mine. Ladies and gentlemen, People invest in you based on your experience. They invest in you as a person. They invest in your abilities based on your experience. I do not want you to think that people invest in you or your ideas because of your expertise. And this is very important because it takes a long time to establish your expertise. But right now, you already have a lifetime of experience that you can build on. So let me explain a little bit more. Your experience comes from failure. All of the ideas that didn't work, your businesses that never started, the things in the family that have gone wrong, even things culturally or historically that you face that have been challenging. Those a lot of times come from failure. Failure is how we learn, and that learning becomes our experience. And so really, if I'm talking about the importance of your story, I'm talking about the importance of your experience. Now, I will admit there are a lot of good things that have happened to all of us, but there are also a lot of bad things. And what we typically think in the startup world is that we don't want to share our failures. We only want to share successes. But that is the incorrect way to look at it, because your failure is your experience documented by your story, and that is how you acquire your skills. Storytelling is your greatest asset. How do you pitch investors? You share a compelling story, whether it's the story about the problem that you're solving, your solution, your market, your backstory. You are all storytellers if you want to be successful in the startup world. And again, it's not just the good stories. It's not just all of the highlights. It's your whole story. Some of the things that maybe you haven't shared because you're timid or you think people might judge you. When you share those stories, that gives insight into your experience, which helps people see you as an expert. Now, my book that I wrote called Ditch the Act is just that. It's a way to understand how you forget about trying to be perfect and you realize the importance is when you are real. So today I'm going to talk about how to really pitch a real idea in a real world, both online and digitally, so that you can have the most impact, raise the most amount of money, and find the most success. Now, I will argue that pitching is an art form. And I want to know what you think influence is. I want you to finish this sentence. Influence is blank. Because at the end of the day, if you can get people to invest in you, you are exerting some sort of influence over them. So finish the sentence. Influence is what? Influence is power of persuasion. Influence is power. What else? Influence is a whole bunch of things. Yeah, influence is a skill. That's a great example. Influence is fill in the blank. I think influence is an art form. And what's cool about that is that, yes, Kelvin, it's about getting people to think like you, but it's also has an element of action. Abraham is also correct with leadership, but here's the way I look at it. Influence is the art of persuasion. And that is, number one, changing the way that people think. And number two, getting them to take action. Okay. Change the way people think and get them to take action. This is truly what I'm trying to share with you today. How to create influence, change the way people think and get them to take action. Now today, we're going to go through my 2 steps of this 8-step branding process that I cover in the book. So I just want you to understand this is just the beginning of how you use your efforts and your startup to build your personal brand. Okay, that's a whole nother talk, but I want you to be empowered by the fact that you already have a personal brand and your company or your idea or you as an entrepreneur is core to that. So we're going to talk about positioning and we're going to talk about discovering what makes you stand out today. All right, now before we do that, I want to do a little exercise. Wherever you are, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take your hands, take your arms, and I want you to fold your arms. Okay, I want you to fold them like you would if you're waiting for me to continue. Okay, you're like, all right, what is this guy doing? We need to wait for a minute. So take your hands like this and fold your arms. Okay. Now I want you to take your hands off and I want you to fold your arms the other way. It's very awkward. Okay, this is the other way. And if it feels awkward, it's because it is awkward. So try it again. Put your hands out. Let me see your hands. Now fold your arms. Okay. Under your hands and fold your arms the other way. It's very hard to do that. Okay. Let's see. I can hear you, sir. Is it from my side? Someone help me to know. I think everybody can hear me. We're doing a little exercise. Fold your arms one way and then fold your arms the other way. Okay, good. Now, the reason I'm asking you to fold your arms one way and then the other way is for a very particular reason, and that's because it's probably awkward, all right? The idea here is that we are used to folding our arms a certain way, and you're comfortable. There's maybe a certain way that you explain your idea. There's maybe a certain way that you explain your business, that you explain who you are. But I'm going to challenge you today to fold your arms in a different way. And the thing is, it might feel awkward at first, but when you do it over time, it will become more and more comfortable. It will be normalized. So what I'm teaching you today, you have to practice. You have to fold your arms the opposite way so that you can really get the hint of it. Now, what I'm going to teach you works not only for investors, but it works for building a team. It works for building relationships. It works for communicating your idea in all different forms. So I want you to not only think about communicating to investors, but as you see with Christine and their crowdfunding campaign, almost everyone that you talk to could be an investor if you can influence them, if you can get them to change the way they think and get them to take action. But it all comes down to this magical phrase. The magical phrase is, what do you do? Now, when someone asks you what you do you babble like a rattling fool? Do you talk so fast that you're blue in the face? Is your big idea all over the place? Do you say the same thing every time? Do you bore investors out of their mind? You might even do it and you might not even know it. Your startup hasn't started. All you want to do is grow it. And every time you open up your mouth, you seem to blow it. You wish there was a method or a way you could control it. Well, have no fear. The 313 is here and it will make your message clear. First, you state the problem. Then you say you solve it, and don't forget the market. All right, we're wrapped up. We're ready to go. And I am here to share with you how to answer the question, what do you do? In a slightly different way. Now, we're going to talk about the problem that you solve. We're going to talk about how you solve it, and we're going to talk about the market. My goal is to help you keep things simple and make them powerful. Thank you for the cheering in the comments there. I got some more raps to come, but we want to keep it simple and we want to keep it powerful. Now, simple does not mean easy. I repeat, to make your pitch simple is going to be one of the hardest things that you will do. The more you talk, the less people listen. The less you talk, the more people ask questions. So if you find yourself talking too much, it stops the opportunity for people to ask questions and engage in a way that works for them. We are not talking about just pitching and overloading people with information. We want to be strategic about what we're doing. Today, we're going to cover why nobody cares what you do and how to solve that. We're going to go over the 313 method and then the 313 sandwich. This is going to enable you to leverage your experience to showcase your expertise in a short amount of time while being powerful and influential. So here's the next pop quiz for you. If you had to choose one of two answers, what would you choose? And it cannot be both. Do you think people care more about what you do, or do you think people care more about the problem that you solve? Okay, all things aside, we should all be the best that we can to each other. We should all love and care for each other. And that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm asking you here is fundamentally, do people care what you do, or do they care about the problem that you solve? All right, so Kelvin says the problem you solve. Abraham says the problem you solve. Frenisha, cool name, though I can't pronounce, I'm sorry. Also the problem that you solve. Okay, so that's 3 for 3 there. We've got a few more people, and I want you to answer in your own head if you're not going to type in the answer. So far, it is 100% that the problem that you solve, and that is the correct answer according to me. In fact, I argue that people only care about the problem that you solve. Now, let's take a second. Let's think about this for a minute. Your entire life, you have thought that people care what you do. I'm telling you that they care more about the problem that you solve. Now, this is so fundamental because for our entire lives, people ask us, what do you do? But we know that what they really care about is the problem that we solve. And so this is a fundamental difference that I want you to understand. If I ask a new medium or advanced business owner, can you tell me what you do? They typically do a good job at explaining it because that's what they always do. But people don't care about what they do. They care about the problem that they solve. But when I ask business owners about the problem that they solve, they all of a sudden have a very hard time articulating it. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're trying to explain their idea. So what we're going to do is help you answer the question, what do you do? Now, Rixky, in your country, a lot of people prefer or care about what we do. I would still argue that. I mean, yes, we all care what you do, but I think we care more about the problem that someone solves. There are so many people and there's not enough time. And so I believe that we are most interested in the businesses and companies that solve our problems. Maybe solve problems for our friends and family, but I think fundamentally we need to have a mind shift. We need to focus on articulating the problem that we solve as a way to get people interested in what we do. So when somebody asks you, what do you do? I challenge you to answer, well, what I do isn't that important, but what is important is the problem that I solve. And then stop talking. Just stop at that point. Because what you've done is you've just changed the dynamics of the conversation. What do you do? Well, I do a lot of things, but that's not as important as the problem that I solve. And if you stop talking, people will then ask, well, what's the problem? You tell them and they might be interested. Now I'm going to show you an image here. This is a good one if you're going to take a screenshot. This shows you the power of what I call permission-based pitching. First, you establish the problem that you're solving. You're not even mentioning what you do. It's just the problem that you solve. And if you get people to admit that it is a problem, as in yes, you can then ask them, well, do you have that problem? If they say yes, you can ask them, are you looking to solve that problem anytime soon? And if they say yes, you can smile and say, well, I can help you out. If you look at this as a concept, not one point do I share what I actually do, but you can get people interested in your idea by just sharing the problem, getting them to admit that it's a problem, seeing if they have a problem. And if they do have the problem, let them know you can solve it. And when they understand that, they are going to want to know what your solution is. The fundamental way of getting people's attention is to play to what they want to hear. They don't want to hear your business idea, I'm sorry, but they do want to hear the problem that you're solving. And so today I'm going to share you how to leverage this permission-based pitching. I want you to understand the power of the problem that you solve, the power of your story in solving that problem. And that is truly how you can get people invested in you and your ideas. Now, this concept of the 313 has been featured in just about every major publication there is. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. I'm saying this to show you that this is a proven method that has worked time and time again, and it will work for you if you put in the effort. So let's get down to the 313. The 313 stands for the deliverable. The 313 is a process that will help you to articulate your idea in 3 sentences, 1 sentence, and ultimately 3 words. Yes, it sounds crazy, but it is very doable, and I'm going to step you through the exact process here today. 313 stands for your ability to pitch your idea in 3 sentences, 1 sentence, or even 3 words. It's a simple way, but it is not easy. It's all focused on 3 things: the problem, the solution, and the market. Now, these are 3 of the most fundamental things that you have to understand about your own business: the problem that you solve, your solution, and your market. Now, you may be thinking, okay, this is built up to be something crazy, but these are simple questions. These simple questions are some of the most difficult ones to answer because you have to answer them succinctly. And I'm going to have you answer them in 1 sentence each. So let's get going. If you are interested in this as a concept and you want to see this play out in real time, I encourage you to check out my podcast called the 313 Challenge. I work people through this process, and you can listen to multiple ones and see how people respond and see how people improve their messaging just like that. Okay, we're going to go through the 313, and we're going to start with the 3 sentences. Now, I have page references down here because this is in my book, Ditch the Act. Okay, so if you want follow-up, you can always grab my book, but those are the page references down here. I don't want you to be confused. We're going to start off with a problem. Can you tell me the problem that you solve? So I want you to type in the chat the problem that you solve in just 1 sentence. And here's the thing. You are not allowed to mention what you do. If you do, you will get a buzzer. Okay? Can you state the problem that you solve with no mention of your solution? Okay? Remember, the importance of explaining a problem is that it can help people get interested faster. So who wants to be brave and who wants to type in the chat the problem that you solve? All right, nobody's jumping in it. If you can't come up with the problem that you solve quickly, it makes me think that maybe you don't know how to clearly articulate the problem. And that is the most important thing that you need to be able to do. All right, so we've got a community member here, solving the problem of poor value for African lives by providing solutions to, wait a minute. Okay, by providing solutions to, we don't want to know about that. Okay, so Frenisha, the problem is no head injuries. See, I need a little bit more context with that. Okay, here's another one from the community member. Helping Black brands and fashion designers succeed in fashion. Now, I think that's a great idea for a business, but the way you stated it, you're stating it as a solution. Look at this. Helping Black brands and fashion designers succeed in fashion. That is your solution. That's not the problem. So how can you rephrase that? Maybe the problem is that Black brands and fashion designers, blankety blank blank. What is the problem? Okay, community member here. Inadequate representation of communities facing issues at policy tables results in unintended consequences. I like that. That's a problem statement, and there's no mention of your solution. Okay, Kelvin, I help people. You help people. That is your solution. Okay. So if you help people to book tour sites and attractions, what's the problem? Is the problem that finding tour sites and attractions is difficult? Is it expensive? Is it laborsome? What is the problem behind it? Okay, let's see. We've got Collins, inefficient waste management systems, which could result in, there's got to be a pain associated with it. Solving the problem of poor value of life for Africans. Okay, might need some more specifics on that. Let's see, another community member, for the most digitally advanced fashion brands or retailers who don't want to exceed inventory at the end of a season. I don't know if that's a problem. Maybe the problem is that digitally advanced fashion brands end up with excess inventory, and that can put them out of business. Do you see these little tweaks here? It's important that you see the difference. Okay, so Alex, people can't find what they want. Okay, I might need a little more specifics. Okay, I ensure financial statements are reliable. Watch this. Marie, I'm sorry. I ensure financial statements are reliable. That's what you do. The problem is when financial statements aren't reliable, X, Y, Z. You see the difference here? It's a slight difference, but it's a very important difference. Let's see. My friend is corrupting in our organization. That's a problem. Let's see. I send kids back to school. Justice, I love what you're doing, but the reason why you got a buzzer is that that's what you do. That's your solution. That's not the problem. The problem might be, the problem is kids are not going back to school, which results in all these different issues. Okay. So what I really want you to hear here is that when I ask you, what problem do you solve? But then, Franiska, you say that you reduce congested traffic in largely densely populated cities. You're telling me the solution. You're not telling me the problem. And people care more about the problem. Okay? So, Alex, I didn't read yours properly. Okay, well, I apologize for that. Let's see. Inefficient waste management systems can result in increased cost and time delays. Collins, that's more of a problem. Not enough cellular subscriptions to connect 50 billion devices globally. Therefore, people won't be connected. That's a problem. And do you see how that's more compelling than I have another service to get people coverage? Okay, people are cutting down trees in disorder. Yes, that is a problem. So I want to let this soak in. The first part of the 313 is your ability to explain the problem that you solve in one sentence. And if we look at these examples, I'd say half of you are not sharing the problem. You're sharing the solution. And that's how you fold your arms. And you're just going to continue to fold your arms the same way. And when people's eyes glass over because you're telling them what you do, it makes sense that they're not interested. But when you tell them the problem that you solve, like, let's see what Brenda says here, organizations are expanding their IT capabilities and data infrastructure using vulnerable legacy systems and costly service solutions that jeopardize their bottom line. Can we agree with that problem? Yes. Do I have that problem? Yes. Do I want to solve that problem? Yes. Guess what? All of a sudden, I'm interested in your idea, Brenda, but I have no idea what it is. Do you see the power of that bringing people's interest towards you? Let's see, Marie. Managers, stakeholders are talking or are taking bad or making bad decisions due to inaccurate financial statements. Yes. Okay, Marie. If somebody asks you what you do, and then you say, "Well, it's not what I do. It's the problem that I solve that's really important." And they go, "Well, what's the problem?" And you say, the biggest problem is that when managers and stakeholders, when they make bad decisions due to inaccurate financial statements, they could go out of business. That's a problem. Do you think it's a problem? Yeah. Does your company have accurate financial statements? I'm not sure. Well, I could help you out with that if you want. Maybe I'm interested. You see, it flips the whole dynamics. And I know I'm talking about this, but this is so important to the whole system. Okay. So great job in participating. We're going to keep charging through. I also want you to understand the difference between a paper cut and your finger being chopped off. Okay, so let's look at this real quick. If I had a piece of paper, like a Post-it note, and I were to have a paper cut, let me scoot back a little bit here. Paper cut, right? Let's just imagine that I cut myself, and look, there's a little bit of blood there on my finger, a little bit of blood on my finger. I got a paper cut, right? Paper cut. All right. Now, let's think about a finger being chopped off. Imagine that I had a large Ginsu knife, and imagine that I got my finger ready to go, okay? And I wanted to chop it off, okay? If any kids are watching, shut the show down real quick. Kim away, okay? When you chop your finger off, if I've chopped my finger off right here and there's blood squirting everywhere and a little finger that is now crawling along, the whole situation has changed. So the difference between your finger being chopped off and a paper cut is a big difference. There's a lot more blood. It's more expensive. But what's important, the difference between a paper cut, if I come up to you and I'm like, Miriam, I have a paper cut. What do I do? You're going to be like, I don't know. It's a paper cut. Get over it. Put a Band-Aid on it. But if I came up to Miriam and I showed my bloody finger was detached and there's blood squirting everywhere, if I actually cut off my finger right now, this whole webinar would stop. And everyone would have an implicit reaction to doing something about it. If somebody comes up to you with a chopped off finger, you're going to call 911. You're going to do something. You're going to help them get ice. You're going to locate the finger. There's something fundamentally different about a paper cut and a finger chop. The difference is that the more severe the problem, the more people are willing and instinctively want to help you out. So if you look at your problem statement, are you explaining it like it's a little paper cut? And people are going to be like, okay, not that big of a deal. Or are you explaining it like it's a finger that's been chopped off? And when you do, their eyes might open up and they might be more interested in understanding how they can solve that problem. So it's not only a problem, but it's a problem like your finger has been chopped off. That's how you get people interested. So now you have your problem sentence in one sentence with no mention of what you do. So can you tell me your solution? Everybody should be ready for this. You shared with me your problem. Now I want you to type your solution. Ready? Go. So some of you, your initial answer would work because that's what you do. But I want you to, in one sentence, tell me your solution and type it in the chat. Ready? Go. Okay, let's see. Cut a tree, plant a tree. Okay, now it's okay to have a little bit of context. So if you could say my solution is it a technology system or is it a service that for every tree that's cut, a tree is planted? So a little context is okay. Let's see, Nabli, efficient recycling of subscriptions. Okay, still there's not as much context there. You're talking about magazine subscriptions? Are you talking about medical subscriptions? Okay, here's one. Let's see this. This is a big chunk. An assortment planning solution that reduces the product development time by 4 weeks and increases sales 11%, unlike the current manual process that is based on the hourglass body shape. Our solutions image recognition machine learning series 386 design details and automatically correlates them to body shapes and suggests inclusive designs while conserving brand DNA. That was a mouthful. If you tell somebody that, their eyes will roll into the back of their head. That is why it's important to lock it down just to one sentence, okay? That's a great example of too much information. Now let's see, Collins, smart technology solution where users can report incidents and get swift emergency response. I like it. Okay, Natalie, efficient recycling of subscriptions over 50 billion connected devices ratio, 1 to 10,000. I'm not sure if I still get that, but it's okay. What I want you to realize is that whatever your solution is, I have a question for you. Does your solution solve the problem that you stated? I want you to think about that, because so many times the problem that we state is not connected directly to the solution. Those things should match up. Okay. So problem, the plastic generated in Nigeria is about 3 tons annually. Yes, that's a problem. So now what's your solution? Your solution should solve that problem. You see, if people are hearing your idea for the first time, if you give them too much information, they're going to be overwhelmed and not understand. But if you have a clear problem and you have a clear solution to that problem, that will make all the difference in those initial understandings. Now, I want to ask you the difference between, I read out the wrong response. Okay, well, Collins, if it was in there, I read it. And this is a good lesson. Whether it's in chat or live, you don't always have a chance to control how people interpret or read those messages, which is so important as to why you are very clear and definite in what you're saying. Okay, I want to talk about the difference between what and how. I asked you what you do, not how you do it. Okay, there's a big difference. If you tell me what you do and then stop talking, if I'm interested, I will ask you how it works. And a lot of times we answer how things work, which is just too much information up front. So think of what you do as the surface, the very top level of an iceberg. And underneath is how it all works. So just tell people what you do and let them ask about how it works. And that gives you permission to explain more. Tell them what, and they will ask you how it works. Okay? Keep your sentences short. Try to keep it one sentence. It should solve the problem. And what I want you to understand is that the less you say, the more profound you become. So it's okay to explain it in a short amount of time, which allows for more conversation. So where are we? We're still at the 3 sentences. The problem that you solve in one sentence, you have to define it. Your solution in a short, compelling solution statement that solves the problem should be very intuitive. Okay. Let's double check here on a lady solution using technologies to improve collection and recycling of plastic waste. That makes sense if the problem is that there's 4 billion tons of waste. You see, your listener, your investor has to connect those dots. They're most interested in the problem that you solve. Then if you get them interested, they'll be interested in how you solve it. But the final component is your market, because you are targeting a specific demographic. I'm sorry, but your customers are not the entire planet out the gates. Who needs your solution? I want you to type in one sentence in the chat, your target market. And I don't want you to use the A word or the E word. No A word or no E word. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. I just want you to type your answer. Who is your target market? And these are your specific target market. Who has this problem that will use your solution? Okay, you should all be ready for this. You should all know what this is, but can you articulate it in just one sentence? Okay, Adieta, elderly, age 65 plus. Did you mean to say every person in the world who's older than 65? I think that's what you meant, but that's not what you want to mean. That's too many people. There's no way you can handle that many. All right, we've got government, students, researchers, individuals, NGOs, producers. That's not a target market. That's a whole bunch of markets. Okay, Esther, teenagers. You might as well have said all teenagers or every teenager. There's no way that you are going to service all teenagers. Teenagers are finicky enough that there's no way that half the teenagers are going to even entertain your idea, no matter what problem you solve. What I'm trying to get at is that you've got to be specific. I'm asking for your target market, not your market potential, your target market. Okay, Marie, any small, medium, or big companies? Any small, medium, or big companies, you're literally saying that you're for everyone. If I was an investor and you told me that your target market is for any small, any medium, or any big customers or businesses, I would be like, nice to meet you. Let's go back to the drawing board. We need to be a little bit more focused before I really take this idea seriously. Okay. And I'm not trying to be harsh here. I'm trying to be real. If you are for everyone, you are for no one. The most important thing that you can communicate about your market is that you know who they are, that you identify them clearly, that you know everything about them and how to get in front of them, and that they're even close enough for you to service. Okay, so let's see here, some other comments. Plastic recycling market worth 32 million in 2018 and will be valued at 54 million by 2026. Okay, but are you taking on the global market? I thought you were focused on a local area. Do you see the difference there? It's got to connect. It's got to make sense. It seems like everybody is trying to get to a bigger market. It's not about going to a bigger market. It's about being more specific with a market to start. If you're going to start a fast food chain in the United States, would you launch in every single 50 state at the same time? Like, would you launch in all 50 states? No, you'd be crazy. You might start locally as a food truck, and then maybe you find a certain area that has the demand for that type of food. And then maybe you start one brick and mortar shop, and then maybe you go to the next county, and then the next county, and maybe the next state, until you get traction and you've proven your model. No investor will take you seriously if you tell them that your solution is for everyone or anyone. And I really want to drill this into your head, because that's one of the easiest ways to get discredited. All right, here's some other ones. Every girl under 18? No. I know they all have the right to, but as soon as you say every girl under 18 years old, yes, they have the right to, but are you able to give it to every single person? The more targeted you are, the more you can actually start to make traction on your idea. Okay, so who needs your solution? Restaurants, hostels, estates, residential buildings. That's so many different things. Where are you going to start? I just really want you to understand the importance of the words. This is not for everyone. This is not for everyone. Those are magic words. It gets people interested in actually what you're doing. Small and medium companies in retail sales. Marie, do you know how many millions and millions of businesses that is? That's a lot. You can't handle all that. Where would you start within there? Do you want to start with small? Do you want to start with medium? Or is there a certain financial cap? Is there a certain number of employees? Is there a certain number of financial statements that they create? Is there a certain amount for those companies who don't have an in-house accountant? You see, all these elements really are going to help you crystallize your idea in someone else's head. Okay? You've got to have great specificity, especially when it comes to your market. So I know we've worked for a lot here about these 3 sentences, but this is the core of your ability to communicate your idea, the problem that you solve, your solution, and your market. Now, we're all doing a great job participating, and I don't want you to think that a buzzer is bad. It's just an indication that you can improve your messaging just a little bit. And a little bit of improvement in your messaging makes a massive difference as far as people being interested in what you do. So now we're going to jump into how you put this all into one sentence. You ready? Well, let me go back. Maybe let's see who's paying attention. How many ways can you combine A, B, and C? I already gave you the answer. It's 6 different ways. Now, what if I took A, B, and C and I replaced it with P, S, and M? Okay, same thing. 6 different ways you can combine those. And here's what it looks like. the problem, solution, market. Those are three things. And when you rearrange those three things in one sentence, you have 6 different ways of sharing what you do. Problem, solution, market. This is the problem I solve by doing this for these people. Or problem, market, solution. It's just changing the order. This is the problem that these people have, and I solve by doing this. Solution, market, problem. This is my solution for these people, and here's the problem it solves. So you've already done the hard work, or when you've done the hard work and you identify problem, solution, market, now you can combine them into one sentence, which encapsulates, puts it all together into one, okay? Think of it like this, 3 different elements into one sentence, and you can switch those up. But you first need to be able to identify and clarify those 3 elements. So you can say your business, what you do, problem, solution, market, in one sentence, if you really know those elements. Okay, now how do we say what you do in 3 words? Okay, this is where it gets fun. This is not a tagline. This is not your business tagline describing what you do. It's actually using metaphor or analogy to help people understand in terms of other things. Think of it not as 3 words, but as one thing related to another thing. This is helping tap into people's creative minds to leverage the information that they already know. So let's go through some examples. Hey, my name is Ryan. You can think of me as a blacksmith of branding. That's 3 words technically, but it says a lot about me, a lot about what I'm doing, and I'm tapping into brand halos of a blacksmith. Blacksmith is thing 1, talks more about me or the business. Of is the relational term, and branding is what we're tying it to. So let's look at some other examples. If somebody is the sensei of storytelling, if you want to take a guess, feel free to, but I'm also just going to jam through these because we still have some stuff to cover. Sensei of storytelling could be a videographer, okay? Like a karate sensei, chopping up everything. You can do that with your film, with your editing about storytelling. See how it's a fun, creative way to get people to understand what you're doing? It creates it in their own mind. What about a referee of risk? Could be an insurance agent. They're like yellow card, red card, flag about insurance, right? It's helping people understand on their own terms. What about somebody who is the Instapot of podcasting? Well, they could be a fast and easy podcast service. An Instapot cooks your food faster. Well, if I'm the Instapot of podcasting, I can help you produce faster. How about this lady? Have you ever seen her? She's referred to sometimes, or at least in the documentary, as the Mother Teresa of big cats. Now, whether you believe that or not is up to you, because I still think she killed her husband, Ron, and that's up for debate. And that's not a Mother Teresa when I think about it. But the example here is strong. Let's look at another one. The Corona of hard seltzers. Corona has such a strong brand halo about its reputation as the cerveza más fin that they're using their own brand to halo an example of how it's the Corona beer of hard seltzers. Okay, this is a real marketing, real advertising. Now, I just got a yoga mat the other day, and on the packaging, it said, this yoga mat is also known as the Taj Mahal of yoga mats, right? I mean, the idea here is to use other things and connect the dots together. So you can come up with your own 3 words, and it's not as hard as you'd think. The first word is really more about you and your personality and the way your business is run. And the second is really about the type of business or industry. So let's see, for example, okay, so let me see here. Okay. All right, let's go with Oladi about your plastic and your recycling. Okay. So Oladi, if you were a superhero, what kind of superhero would you be? I'm curious. Superman, Captain America. Let's say it's Captain America, okay? You could be Captain America for your local area. Captain America of Africa, Captain America of Ghana, Captain America of Nigeria. What are you doing? Well, they know that you're doing something that has to do with green or whatnot. Okay, Figma for fashion designers. Yes, Captain America of Africa. I like that. Now let's just say that what kind of car are you, right? Maybe you're a Tesla of recycled materials. Okay, maybe you are the Tasmanian devil of bottle cleanup or recycling. Maybe the Tasmanian devil of recycling. Maybe you are, I don't know. So the possibilities are endless. And the power of this comes when you can talk in terms of other people, what they understand. So I like sailing. So if you explain to me what your business is, talking about a sailboat, it really helps me to understand. Okay. Maybe you are the mainsail of sustainability and you are the main thing that keeps sustainability going. Maybe you are the captain of getting kids back to school. Maybe you are a number of other things. But the idea here is you can be creative. If you have ideas, the Tomra of recycling in Africa, okay? I don't want you to get caught up on the 3 words. I want you to get caught up on using metaphor or analogy. You can use existing companies and what people know about them. I am the Uber of blank. I am the Taj Mahal of this. Think of me as Mother Teresa for recycling bottles. Okay. This is a fun way to shortcut what you do in someone else's head. Okay. So with this process, you can come up with your business in 3 sentences, 1 sentence, and 3 words. It's all about the problem, the solution, and the market. Like one of our community members who is the Uber of policy strategy. So that makes me think that it's technology-based. You can impact policy from afar. The policy comes to you. There's tracking. See all of that stuff just with that analogy. But also realize with that brand halo comes all the negative things that people think about Uber. So you have to be careful and choose your relationships, the comparative relationships as it would be. Okay, so I want to share with you some examples of the 313 method in the real world, how this will actually translate. So true or false, let me go down here. True or false, every single person in your startup, every single person in your company has the ability to perfectly explain your business. True or false? It is false. If you have a small, medium, or big size company, you cannot guarantee that everybody communicates your idea in the same way. The 313 will empower you and the team to get on the same page so that you're all answering questions to investors with the same terminology. Make sure that your whole team knows this is the problem that we solve. This is our solution. This is our market. When everybody has those fundamentals secured, then you can add your own spice to it and make it your own. But everybody's going to be on the same page, and that's important. True or false? Your website will never change. False. You all know that your website is constantly changing, but the 313 gives you the ability to make sure that whatever the changes, it communicates the problem that you're solving, your solution, and your market. Because people build websites and forget this crucial information. This will keep everyone on the same page. And finally, true or false, your messaging, your pitch never changes. True or false? False. You are always receiving feedback and mentorship and working with the GSE team, and you're refining your pitch. But the fact is, it never stays the same. But with the 313, you have a real framework for adapting and moving. If something politically happens that impacts your business, you can go back to the 313. How does it affect the problem? How does it affect your solution? How does it affect your market? It gives you the ability to adapt. Pitching is an art form. Communication is an art form. Influence is an art form. And so I want you to remember these 3 rules. First rule is I don't care what you do because I've got problems and so do you. You won't get me interested explaining minor pain. You got to solve a problem in a finger chop way. Rule number 2, you talk too much like a giddy little kid on a yellow school bus. Start with the what, not with the how. Make it conversational and learn to shut your mouth. Rule number 3, create intrigue. Talk about your target market to the nth degree. Tap into the FOMO of the person who is listening. Say anyone or everyone, and you will be less interesting. The goal of your pitch is for them to want more. Don't miss opportunity knocking at the door. First, you state the problem. Then you say you solve it, and don't forget the market. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you now have what you need to create a compelling 3-sentence, 1-sentence, and 3-word pitch. This works really great if you're interacting with somebody and it's a conversational piece. So you now have your marching orders. Yes, you can get this recording for sure. Now, Christine had said that this is an hour and a half, and I want to confirm because I can stop here or I can give you some bonus material about how to use the 313 for the 313 sandwich. So to respect everyone, we do.
It's all yours, Ryan.
I'll take it. First, you state the problem, then you say you solve it, and don't forget the market. This is all you need when creating a compelling pitch. These 3 elements, that's what gets people interested. If you do want to see this in action, and if you want to hear people go through this process, or if you even want to be challenged, and if you want to be a guest on my show, you can actually do that too. TTPS here, ryan.online/313me. If you think that you are ready to be challenged by me in real time in a hot seat on my podcast, you can apply to be on the show. I work people through this process and you see them transform by the end because some of these things are not intuitive, but they're so important for your ability to communicate, pitch, explain your idea in a short amount of time. We got the problem, we got the solution, and we got the market. But what is missing? You're smart. You understand what's going on. You've done research on what it means to pitch investors. This is not everything. There's one thing that's missing. And I gave you a little hint at the very top of the show. What is missing for your pitch besides the problem, the solution, the market? Good guess, Mariam, but not. What makes you unique? Yes, but I'm looking for something. Yes, your story. All right, we got it. It is your backstory. I've got my story. You've got your story. But if you just tell people the problem, solution, market, you're not going to personalize it. And that's why storytelling is your greatest asset. I keep jumping around here. So we're going to talk about how to incorporate your story with the 313 in a way that you can pitch for a pitch competition, whether it's 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, the fast pitch, the medium pitch, the long pitch. This is a formula that you can use. And it's called the 313 sandwich. Hopefully this doesn't make you too hungry, but hopefully it does. The 313 sandwich fundamentally shows you how to sandwich or package your story, the problem, solution, market, and your vision for the future, how you will change the story. Okay? So I want you to follow along here because it's very intuitive and this is a system that you can duplicate. The 313 sandwich is built from top to bottom. The first piece is the story piece of bread. Then you're going to put on the problem. That problem leads to your solution. You got to clarify that you do have a specific market, not everyone or anyone. And then you represent how the story will change once your solution, technology, service is implemented into the real world. This is a structure that you can use for a one-to-many pitch. And believe it or not, those who have followed this pitch format have consistently won the fast pitch competitions at all the GSC, all of the different summits. Okay. What is the story behind your idea? Okay. I'm going to take a minute for us to do this because this is so crucial. I asked you about the problem, asked you about the solution, asked you about the market, but now what is your story? This could be how you discovered it. This is the origin. I was walking along the beach and I couldn't get over the fact that there was more bottles than ocean. And that got me so upset. And then I started doing research. And that's what got me excited about solving this problem. Okay. So let's see. What's your story? How did you come up with your idea? What's the founder story? What's the genesis? Where did you stub your toe that made you realize that this is a problem? You need to have this ready. You need to have it polished. And this is a safe environment for you to explore that initial stage. If I'm an investor and I go, so how'd you come up with this idea? What's the story behind it? That's what I want. Maybe you were somebody who had kids that had a hard time going back to school. And that was the backstory that motivated you to do something about it. Maybe you lost your job because a company went out of business because they made bad decisions off of financial statements. And that really set you back. And you decided the real problem is accurate information. And that's what motivated you to do it. Okay. Those are examples of what I'm looking for. All right. Oladi, I learned that hepatitis is spread through the reuse of plastic bottles. Okay. That is a great story. Let's see. Adialaya, find ambience in a salsa dance club without paying $15 coverage. Find ambience. Okay. Sounds like there's a good story behind that, which I like. See, I saw mobile clinics providing community responsive care, but health policies were missing how to integrate into our healthcare systems. That is a great example of a story. Okay. Now I'm going to have, you can continue to put them in the chat. We had some really great examples. And so now I want to show you how we're going to use these stories. Okay. It all starts with the story. Let me take a step back real quick. The way that our brains are developed, in the back of our brain is the more primitive brain. It's the brain called the mammalian brain or the lizard brain or the croc brain. It's the type of brain in the root stem of your brain that looks for threats. It tries to keep you alive. It looks for bears in the bushes and it looks for people who are going to attack you. And believe it or not, even though we're not really running from bears as often as we have in the past, if you come out of the gate with a bunch of information and go, this is my startup and here's what I do, 11% of this and this is what I do year over year, you literally will be like a bear that's jumping out of the wilderness. And the investor in the back of their brain is going to go, bear, bear. Oh my God. The problem is that they'll stop listening. They'll never even start to listen. And so when you start with a story, it goes past the croc brain and it allows people to go, okay, hey, it's a story. This is okay. This is easy. I can listen to this. So if you want to learn more about how this acts in real life, you can check out my first TEDx talk and it's called How to Not Get Chased by a Bear. Okay. If you like TEDx talks, you're going to like that one and you can dig into that. But when you start with a story, you get past the bear. And so when you're giving your pitch or you're giving an explanation to an investor, do not say, hi, my name is Ryan Foland and my startup is ryanfolandinc.com. And I do this and that. Don't do that. You will come across as a bear. What you should do is, let me tell you a story. There I was at the beach, minding my own business, not worried about the plastic bottles that I would see, because that's just kind of a reality of what happens. Yet I'm scrolling through my news feed on my phone and I see an article, and the article talks about how hepatitis is spread through plastic. And I did more research and I found out that the bottles of people who have hepatitis that are left in the ocean that are stacked up actually can help to cause spreading of this disease. And so there I am on the beach and I'm looking around and all I see is water bottles. And all of a sudden those water bottles become contaminants, things that can hurt my friends and family and people that are at the beach for nature. At that moment, that's when I realized this is a problem. Now, I just made that up, but that's how you take the concept and turn it into a story. Okay. Somebody can't hear me. I'm not sure why. Maybe we had a break in the system there. But what I want to reinforce here is that you start with the story. Share your founder story. Don't share your name. Don't share your company name because they don't care yet. Tell them the story. So there I was traveling along and I saw mobile clinics and they were providing community response care. And that's awesome because we need this in our community. But then as I did more research, I learned the health policies were missing how to integrate those policies into our healthcare systems. And I realized no matter how much the community is providing medical attention, if we don't integrate it into our healthcare system, it will never scale. It will never get to where we need. And that is a problem. Okay, so I'm giving some examples, but start your pitch with a story. That will help people ease into the information that they're about to receive. Then the story results in the problem. So now that I've told you the story, it made me realize that this is a problem. And now you talk about the problem, but you don't talk about your solution yet. Because as we explained, get people bought onto the solution and they may be interested. Get people bought into the problem and they may be interested in your solution, but it doesn't happen the other way. If you start with your solution and it sounds like something that's already in existence or something they already know, they're gonna be like, I've already heard that before. But if you focus on the problem, then they might be interested in your solution. Let me tell you a story about where it all started, blah, 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 blah. And that was when I realized that this was a big, big problem. Transition. The problem is XYZ, finger chop, bloody finger, information, data, statistics. But don't worry, transition. I have a solution. Explain your solution, explain your secret sauce, depending on how much time you have. And then say, but I want to make sure something's very clear. This product, service, / whatever is not for everyone. In fact, we'd be naive to think that it was. Eventually, we want to help out as many people as possible, but we want to focus on our core target demographic. And that are these people, these types of businesses with this level of income that live in this area that have these desires that we can solve. Those people, that's where we're going to start. Also known as a beachhead, it's where you start. You don't just invade the whole country, you start at the beach. Once you clarify your market, you then can say what the world looks like with your solution. So the next time that I'm at the beach and the next time that future generations go to the beach, yeah, they might see plastic bottles, but because of the help that we are doing and reducing the amount of bottles, their risk of getting hepatitis from picking up that trash and recycling it will be decreased by a certain amount. The whales will be happier, the dolphins will be happier, and we can all enjoy a healthier, happier life. Yay! You're painting the picture. You're putting people in the future so they can see what your solution does. Because it's one thing to say, here's a problem. It's another thing to say, here's a solution. It's another thing to say, this is the target market. But now you're painting the picture of what this actually looks like if they invest in you and as you find your success. This creates, in speaking, what we call a full loop, the beginning towards the end. Now, it creates this closed loop. This is a really classic and very, very important speaking skill. You end up where you started and it creates a nice flow. Now, in competitions and with investors, they're going to want to see types of information that is valuable to them. And that's important for you to know. This is a list from Robert Kiyosaki's 10-20-30 rule. He says you should have no more than 10 slides, no longer than 20 minutes, and no smaller than 30 size font. Okay. You can do research on that. I love that. But what I'm using here as an example, these are the 10 slides that Robert Kiyosaki says you should have in your pitch. Okay. You might not have time for all of them, but based on your competition, you need to know what the judges are looking for. And you need to know investors need this information. So once you identify all the information that you want to put into your pitch, you ask yourself, Where does this fit in the sandwich? Okay. Story, problem, solution, or market. It fits into one of those. Your business, so your problem is obviously fits in your problem, solution fits in your solution. But what about your business model? You could talk about your business model when you talk about your solution. What about marketing and sales? You could talk about that when you talk about the market. What about your team? Your team could be included in the story. Maybe how you found your team was integral to how you started the company. Your status and timeline, you could talk about in the problem, the market, or the solution. The problem is if we don't do something about this now, we're going to XYZ. Here's our time frame. Here's our milestones. The value is that everything in your pitch only fits into the story, problem, solution, or market. And the value of that is that it allows you to not forget what you're doing. Okay. And that's super important when you're up there high pressure on stage. Something else to consider is that there's something called the law of latency and recency. This means that in any given presentation or any given talk, even this webinar, you're probably not going to remember very much from the beginning. You probably won't remember very much from the end, but somewhere in the middle, that's what you'll probably remember. So the fact that people are more likely, actually, I think I said that opposite. People are more likely to remember the beginning and the end than they are in the middle. Okay. We remember the beginning, we remember the end, not so much in the middle, just kind of fades in together. And so when you use the 3-1-3 sandwich, people get the story in the beginning, get the story in the end. And if they hear 10 different people give pitches, there's a good chance they're going to remember you because of your story. And that's why you start and end with a story as well. This as a system can be a 30-second pitch. It can be a 2-minute pitch. It can be a 6-minute pitch. You're just expanding the amount of information that you're giving from each one of these. Okay. Does anybody want to give a live demo? I don't know if we have the audio ability. Christine, you could probably say, if not, we can just sort of charge on. But I always like to have people see what this looks like in person. You start with a story. It uncovers the problem. You share your solution. You say, this is not for everybody. And then you tell me a story in the future. All right. So do we have somebody that can come on audio, or does somebody want to, I'll help step you through this process. We'll do a quick practice pitch. All right. Raise your hand. You're going to be brought up to be selected. Ooh, this is going to be good. I'm going to go back to this as an example. All right. I'm waiting for the selection committee. All right. We got one. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. All right. So I'm going to give you a little bit of coaching and you'll just sort of provide this. And what we're doing is we're patching together what your pitch is. And this is a pitch. It's like a fast pitch. People are not interacting with you. Okay. So can you tell me your story, like how it all started?
Yeah. Adi is a recycling collector.
Wait a minute. Do you see what you did? Okay. Now this buzzer comes with love. Okay. This is just for fun. But the first thing you did was talk about your company and what it is. That's not a story. Do you see the difference? Listen, everybody, we want to just say, here's my company, what we do. We're not there yet. You're going to talk about that later on. So I want you to say something like, tell the story where it all started. How did you first come up with this idea? What was it that helped you realize there was a problem?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm actually talking about the problem, not talking about what we do, because
okay, no, but we're not there yet. We first start with the story. What is the story behind you discovering the problem?
Yeah, what I share with you, there are two stories to it. One, I got the interest based on what my observation in the community, in the city where I live.
Okay.
That is one. The other one is where I volunteer with an organization. That's where I saw the risk about the exposure to hepatitis using reuse a plastic bottle.
Okay, so let's talk about the second one as a story. Okay, so I want you to tell the story, and I want you to end the story with, now that is when I realized this was a big problem. Okay, so you can say something like, and how long ago did this happen? When was this? A year ago, 2 years ago? When?
3 years ago.
Okay, for everybody listening, a good story has who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay, so and tell me your name so I don't butcher it. How do you pronounce your name?
Olaide.
Alaidi. Okay, Alaidi. I want you to say something like, it was 3 years ago, and I'll never forget it. You see, I'd followed this organization for a long time, and I was passionate about the work that they were doing. But then I realized, based on some research that they provided, that plastic bottles can actually transfer really serious diseases. And I never thought of that before. And none of my friends ever thought of that before. And that's when I realized plastic bottles are way bigger of a problem than just waste. They are a health hazard. So do you see how I took that and turned it into a little story?
Yeah, great.
So see if you can just kind of duplicate something very similar to that, but it starts 3 years ago and then essentially kind of goes to what your problem is. Try that.
Okay, great. Yeah, 3 years ago, I volunteered during the World Environmental Day with a FIFO recycler, a company based in Nigeria. And that's where I got an insight to the risk in reuse of plastic bottles. And as a result, I got the insight that hepatitis is more terrible as health risk to human being than HIV.
Okay, and now say, and that is a big, big, big problem.
And that is a big problem that give me the inspiration on what can be done.
Okay, so now tell me the problem, but don't tell me your solution. So now say the problem is blankety, blankety, blank, and it's really bad.
Yeah. About three metric tons of plastic are generated in Nigeria annually.
And with that comes millions of opportunities for these bottles to transfer highly transferable diseases, which is a huge problem additional to the waste, right?
Yes.
Now I want you to say, but don't worry, I have a solution, and tell me your solution.
Okay, thanks. So annually, about three metric tons of plastic bottle is being generated in Nigeria. But beyond the plastic, that increases the chances of exposure of hepatitis by citizens in the country. But don't worry, I have a solution to that.
Tell me your solution. Go.
Yeah, the solution is a data-driven platform that connects recycling company to estates, restaurants, by which the plastic being mopped up.
All right. And now say, but this is not for everyone. This is for, and explain the specific market that you're going after.
Yeah, this is not for everyone, but specifically for restaurants, hostels, and estates.
Okay. And then now you can say, so for future generations, we will be able to have not only less waste material, but we will reduce the risk of transfer of diseases as a result, and we can all be healthier and at the same time support local restaurants who are more sustainable, whatever, right? That vision. So just say in the future and tell me what the future looks like with your solution.
In the future, we are not going to reduce over 50%. So in the future, let me say, can I say in the future by 2030,
Sure.
Our aim is to reduce over 50% plastic, mop up over 50% of plastic generated in Nigeria, but also reduce the exposure to health risk severe health risk of hepatitis.
All right, everybody, blow up the chat. That was awesome. Now, that was the first time through it, but what I want you to see, everybody, is a structure. And this structure now you can follow and you can create your own 313 sandwich. You can put in the different elements in the different areas, but then you have a very nice, concise, and logical way to do it. So great job, buddy. Let's see. And this comes in many sizes. So you did a short one. You could do a longer one or even longer, just with more information. Pitching is an art form. Influence is an art form. Feel free to check out my podcast so that you can see this artwork as we paint it live. If you do want to sign up for my newsletter, I usually send them every once in a while with something to listen to, watch, and see. And don't forget, I encourage you to check out my new free course. It's almost 2 hours of total. It's got handouts and start guides and all kinds of resources for you. It's totally free. There's no strings attached. I share the 313 sandwich, and that much more. Really, it's just a way to take what I've learned and share it with everybody. And so I really encourage you to check that out. It just launched, so everybody will be stoked if they see all this traffic come. You know how that goes. And finally, I want to say I will invest in the global startup ecosystem. I've invested time, sweat, and equity for the last 5 years. I think this is so awesome to see that they're open for investment. And remember, by you investing in this ecosystem, you're really investing to help yourself. So I wanted to remind you and make a call to action to do that, because, you know, it's an amazing thing to see everyone come together to support such an impactful program. And the people who are behind the scenes making this happen, they've just hustled so hard. So I'm excited to invest as well. That's what I got for you. The 313 sandwich, and your story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what people want to learn about. That is how you share your experience. And when you do that properly, people will eventually see you as an expert. All right, everybody.